There is a structure you can find in the first 10 minutes that isn't just required to beat the game, but also provides items you won't find anywhere else. This is the place to come for players who want enchantments without the hassle of fishing or villagers, but also one of the best places to go to make a nether portal or enchantment room. Why is the structure that most people don't see till the end of the game worth visiting in the beginning, and why is this one surrounded by TNT and also it's entirely unearthed? These are questions we can answer in today's ultimate Minecraft guide to Strongholds. This is going to be the most overpowered structure in the entire game, and so the logical first question you might have is, wow, how can I subscribe to avoid house fires and TNT-based explosions? Did you know greater than 99% of those happen to people who aren't subscribed? But your second question might be, how would you actually find one of these structures, because they are quite a rarity and they work differently depending on which platform you're playing. The Stronghold is incredibly unique in that it is the only underground structure you don't just find with luck, but instead use skill, knowledge, and even an item, the IF Ender. This was originally designed to be one of the hardest, latest game items you could find, because you had to kill, at the time, the two hardest to kill mobs in Minecraft, an Enderman and a Blaze, and combine their loot together to make one of these. Obviously, nowadays, it's a little bit easier to get, but you still need to get a fairly late game item and throw it if you want to know where the Stronghold is, because it will take you in the direction of one. On Bedrock, you can simply follow this line and eventually it will intersect with a village. If you're close to 0-0, this works great, but if you're playing Java or if you're far away from 0-0 on Bedrock, what you should do instead is throw one of these. We'll pick a set of coordinates, -384, -81, see the angle which it's thrown at, and then throw a second one, maybe 100 blocks to the left. So this is -484, -81. If you're playing Java, you can see your exact degree of rotation in there if you really want, but on Bedrock, we can do some basic triangulation. I've got some graph paper here to see that we need to head roughly 600 to 700 blocks on the Z-axis while going roughly 400 blocks on the X-axis. This triangulation is a great way to make the most of a limited resource. IF Enders will not last forever. They do break sometimes when you throw them, and it is a great way to make sure that using just two of these, and potentially only wasting two of these, will find you the Stronghold. However, the very rough maths involved and the fact that you won't be exactly where you need to means that this is very much a, if you have more IF Enders, just use those instead, because throwing an extra one helped me realize that I was about 100 blocks away from the actual village where the Stronghold was, so having spare IF Enders is a very valuable tool, but if you do some precise enough maths, you can skip that altogether. Also, you could skip the IF Ender altogether when playing the Bedrock version because of this Stronghold village link, which happens fairly close to spawn. If you just look around your world for villages that are roughly 1,000 blocks from the world origin, that is to say 0-0, so somewhere below 1,000 on both coordinates, then you will probably be able to find the Stronghold. Probably is a strong word for it. It's about a 10% chance or so, which means I loaded up some Minecraft worlds to see how long it took. On my first world, I didn't find anything. On the second world, nothing. On the third world, I tried 2 villages and was still unsuccessful. The fourth, the fifth, the sixth were exactly the same. And on the 7th world, I finally found nothing below this village, but on the second village from this world, I did in fact find one. This is almost exactly 10 villages. It was my 9th random village I loaded up and dug down below to find a Stronghold, but the fact that you can find a Stronghold before going to the Nether, before having anything, you could do this with your fist if you really wanted to, although I'd maybe recommend a stone pickaxe at the very least. Either way, being able to get yourself to one of the most powerful structures in the game is insane, but what makes it so powerful and what should you do once you do arrive here? There's obviously one major reason that people come to the Strongholds, but even if you don't care about the end of the game, you never want to go to that dimension, or you don't have the IF Enders, it's still worth coming here regardless, and let me share with you some of the insane loot you'll find here right after we go through the basic building blocks of what makes up a Stronghold. So it's worth knowing that there is one room that every Stronghold starts with, and it is this staircase entrance room. You'll know it's the entrance staircase because it has some raw blocks out there, whether it's dirt or diorite or coal or stone or deep slate, whatever the normal terrain would be is what it connects into, and once you found this first room, it will always connect into what is called a crossroads room, which has 5 additional exits in addition to the one you come in with, which is insane if you think about it. You can not only go forwards through these, you can go left, you can go right, and you can go up the staircase, and then right and then left. This makes it a maze inside here, and so keeping track of where you've been and where you haven't by using either cobblestone to say you've explored an area, although obviously let's make sure we explore it. Okay, we've explored this area fully, using cobblestone to show that you've been somewhere, or some other block to show you haven't is really important in my opinion for probably exploring these places. When you look around, you might just find some chests, and this is what contains some of the best loot in Minecraft. In fact, the only place you can find ender pearls in the chest, but one of the only places you can find gold and golden apples as well. The best food in Minecraft can be found, indeed, right here it seems, but as well as that, you can also find these library rooms. Usually you won't find them so close to the entrance, but what a great find this is. These chests have some of the most powerful loot in the entire game, and you can see why once we hover over these enchanted books, because it's not just books, compasses, and paper, it's also the potential to find enchanted books with very high level enchantments. Almost all of these are attached with a very high enchantability level, which means you'll get either lots of medium level enchantments or some very high level ones like loyalty or mending, and this means that when you combine this chest with one found just up the ladder and on the other side of the library room, you'll find an entire possibility of having almost every decent enchantment you could ever want. If you want something that's niche and high level, it is probably going to be found most easily here, and that's insane by itself before considering that this is a library room, so you can chop down the bookshelves and get a bunch of books to either make your own library room and enchantment table back home, or you could do something more fun and you could sell these to a librarian. You get a whole emerald for every 4 books you bring, and this place has hundreds of them, so it's a nice easy source of income if you don't intend on preserving this place. Something you might want to care about is the fact that there can be more than one of these per stronghold. It's 0 to 2 per stronghold, but I tend to find 2 is the most common number, and also it's worth mentioning that they have cobwebs in them, one of the only places you can naturally find this, so bring some shears and get some weird and hard to usually obtain items in Minecraft quite easily and early on. Also, it's worth mentioning that if you're looking for that main stronghold room, the end portal room, that actually once you've found your main crossroads next to your main staircase, you have to travel a maximum of 5 rooms to get there. This only covers 99% of strongholds, so be warned, your stronghold might not have an end portal room or it might be broken, but usually you travel 5 rooms, and just like so, we find ourselves an end portal room. It's actually kind of terrifying because some skeletons followed me in, and oh dear god, also there's lots of silverfish in here. Make sure to deactivate the silverfish spawner immediately. It's the only place you can find these naturally, so if you have some grand idea about farming silverfish, now is the place to do it. But realistically, most people mine this, get out of the way, heal yourself up safely in the corner if you need to, and now you have access to the end if you can get the IF Enders. Even if you don't have a need to access the end right now, it's worth mentioning, and even if you've never been to the Nether at all, you can use the lava that is found here to make a Nether portal. This is a speedrunning technique that is loved, but it can be really handy for everyone else, and it's also worth mentioning that even if you don't need to go back to the Nether, making an Nether portal here is really great because it will allow you to link your Nether to your end, so there are lots of reasons to do this, but it's now worth mentioning what else is there in the stronghold worth going to. Besides that second library room and all of its cobwebs, enchanted books, and also eye armor trims, what else is there worth going for? So first things first, you can find a lot more altar chests, you can find some water in case you want to make a Nether portal but you forgot to bring a bucket with you, but interestingly enough, there is another type of room that is incredibly rare. There wasn't one in this stronghold, there wasn't one in the second stronghold I loaded up. The third stronghold I spawned into had other issues, to say the least. What? It's intact technically, but yeah, this is not useful, good, or what I'm looking for. Before finally, my 4th stronghold gave me access to one of these storerooms, and you know, that you better believe the hype is on now. 4 whole strongholds to find one, that must mean it's good. But to the contrary, it contains free bread and an exact. Okay, I was expecting bad, but not that bad. If you look at the total number of loot things you can find here, the very best you can hope for is an enchanted book. It won't be as well enchanted as in the rest of the structure, and honestly, in terms of what else you find here, it's cobblestone, it's wood, and it's just a weird place inside of the stronghold. You might find something that you're looking for here, but in reality, it's very unlikely the storeroom has what you're looking for, and given how rare it isn't likely it has anything anyone's looking for, and so why does it exist? Honestly, it's one of those weird examples of something in Minecraft that made a lot of sense 12 years ago when Minecraft released, but just hasn't been touched at all since then, and so what a fun example of a chest. So now you know the insane power of this place is not just the main room, but instead is found everywhere else. You're probably going to want to explore the next stronghold you come into contact with, and it's worth mentioning right here, right now, that if you are going to do that, there are all sorts of secret rooms found around this place. Some of these secret rooms are intentional, some of them are not so much, and let me show you an example of both. So an unintentional one might be when you see another part of a stronghold through a room like so, if you mine through it, you'll end up in another part of the stronghold. This is just kind of the way the layout bends and winds around itself. However, sometimes there are secret little voids that are deliberately set up by the room structure themselves. One of these are these staircases right here. They look like they're just made out of cobblestone, deliberately so you go up and down, but you can actually mine through them, and if you mine through the stone underneath, you'll end up in a weird little secret room. So sometimes you'll find mobs in these, but sometimes you can find the previous thing kind of stacked together in there, and sometimes you'll find rooms that are hidden amongst them. So it's always worth checking underneath these staircases. If you do suspect, oh wait, actually, where did the light come from? It's from up here. But if you do suspect that maybe, just maybe, there's going to be something in here, it's always worth checking because you never know what's going to be on the other side. Is it just going to be a standard room like this? A lot of the time, maybe yes, but otherwise you might find something a bit more secret. So in the case of this staircase, you can see behind it, wow, there is a whole extra room back here that was hidden that you wouldn't be able to find unless you went down and under the staircase. So make sure you do that sometimes. Also, wow, there's another, this is the unintentional type too. You can go really crazy with how you get around your stronghold. However, make sure you stick to what you have explored and haven't by dirting or placing some block around to make sure that that's clear. This is a lot of water in a stronghold. This isn't meant to happen, but sometimes the caves collide. Sometimes indeed you'll find that the stronghold is kind of floating around in a cave or underwater. They fixed that for the most part now, but it's still very interesting. And finally, I guess we should mention, this isn't much of a secret, but the end portal room itself has something fun going on. Although I guess I should mention while we're on the way, this room right here is the most likely one to have weird secret rooms on the sides of it, but also there is a void in here that will never lead you anywhere. I just think it's really interesting that the whole room is deliberately suspended above the ground. So yeah, that's interesting. Also, I guess it should be mentioned that if you want to get mossy stone brick, cracked stone brick, or even just regular stone bricks, this is one of the easiest places to do so. Mining your stronghold, it might seem like sacrilege, but it's actually a really fun task. I enjoy it personally. What I also enjoy personally is going to the end. So a lot of people think the end portal has one purpose, and that is you go to the end, you come back, and it's kind of over, but it's actually one of the weirdest examples of a block in the game. These are technically end portal blocks, and they're the only block in Minecraft that is visible from one angle only. So if I mine this block here, you can see clearly where the end portal is meant to be, and you can see I can't mine through it. If I even place a block right up over there, I won't be able to mine the dirt block that it looks like I should be able to because the end portal block is in the way. So you can do some really weird things with this, including tricking people if you want to. Hypothetically, you could get someone below this end portal, and previously the way it used to work is you'd be able to trick them into going into the end, but now you can have them, and you can give them basically a glass ceiling that is otherwise invisible. I guess glass is sort of invisible to go through, but the other reason I like these is because you can deliberately avoid full damage using them. This seems counterintuitive because you should still be falling just into another dimension, but in my Let's Play world, for example, I have a quite fun setup. This is one of my favorite builds that I recommend because not only does it make access to your whole stronghold easier, but also the end dimension gets a lot easier to access when you can jump straight in if you really want to. And yeah, the fact that it takes away all of your full damage is wonderful, and yeah, I just think the end is such a really underutilized place. Even if you don't care about the dragons, you don't care about the elytras and the shulker boxes, I question who you are if you don't care about those three things, but even if you don't care about any of those, the fact that you can use the end as a way to get from anywhere in your world back to your spawn point, because that's what this portal does once you kill the dragon, that is just powerful, that is just wild, and I don't know how it's not more appreciated. But speaking of things I don't think are appreciated, if you were thrown into the stronghold on a brand new world with no loot, no stuff, and asked to survive exclusively here, would you be able to do that? This is a fun question I love to ask myself as someone who likes to challenge themselves, and the answer I think is surprising because first things first, you can find wood here, right? If you can just find a library room, you'll be perfectly in luck, and so there we go. Just like this, we have ourselves a library. This gives you instant access to wood. Even if you aren't lucky enough to have an abandoned mineshaft yourself running through a stronghold, you will be able to find enough wood. This wood allows us to make a wooden pickaxe, which then allows us to make stone tools. You can get lucky and find a mob spawner. This is surprisingly common to find a mob spawner mixed in. You could also find a storeroom, but they do both contain cobblestone, which once you have, you can then make a stone pickaxe and then make stone axes, stone swords, stone everything else. You could also take the gear from here, but we'll say you're not going to take it for now. What about the food issue? This is a surprisingly challenging one. How are you going to find food in a stronghold? And I think there's a couple of easy answers, even if we don't have a decent weapon to defend ourselves. Option number one is obviously we could find those storerooms. There was bread in there that one time. I think option number two is probably being a bit more realistic and saying, okay, even the altar chests, which are much more common than 0 to 0.25 per stronghold, okay, this is bad. This is very bad. Oh no, I'm dead. Okay. So as you can see, okay, this is great. This is everything I've wanted in my life is right here. We've had a very big situation right now. There are a couple of zombies following me, and I have only 1.5 hearts. How do I survive this? Well, the answer is clearly, I'm going to use this just to make myself safe. The answer is clearly the apples you can find in the altar chests. Obviously, a single apple isn't enough to necessarily survive, but you know, if you get really, really lucky, you can find enough of these. More seriously, you can sometimes find mushrooms around these places, and if the stronghold happens to be in a lush cave, you can find vines from that creeping through. You can also find the weird spore blossoms and basically every other part of it, which means if you can just get some bone meal from some skeletons, then you'll be just fine. Okay, so let's go. Fight quickly before he died. No. Okay, so we could just get some bones, which we did not do right there. Then we would be just fine. You could also eat rotten flesh if you had to. You could eat spider eyes mixed into your diet, or you could make a fishing rod from all the string and go fishing, but food is technically covered, and so now the only questions are, can you go to the nether? As mentioned before, actually, we don't even need to find a skeleton. We can get glowberries without that. Oh, what such high quality food we have. Which means, yeah, with the water from this and the lava from the end portal room, you can go to the nether, and so you could beat Minecraft without having to leave your stronghold if you want a little bit of a dumb challenge. I think it's a fun one though. So yeah, this is a powerful place, even if you don't consider the end, which I think it's worth doing for this video. We could go on for days about how great the end portal is, but ultimately, I think the power of a place is saying that even without access to a whole new dimension, this place would still be worthwhile, and let me show you some more fun reasons as to why, as we go into one of my favorite sections in these Ultimate Guide videos. You know, really, the rest of the video is just so, I'm going through so I can get to the point I love most. First things first, let's talk about the nether portal in the stronghold technique. This is loved by speedrunners, and so you might think it's the only go-to, but it does have a weird quirk that most people don't talk about, which is what happens when you actually get to the nether. So Minecraft tries to line up your coordinates in the overworld with your coordinates in the nether by dividing them by 8 for your X and Z. However, for your Y, it takes the exact same one and tries to use that as well. And so the reason this is valuable to note, do we have to go get some more wood? I don't think. We don't have any wood on us. We're gonna have to go out and get some. Pro tip, by the way, you can use basically any wooden block to burn things, so if you're punching it with your fist anyway, why not grab something fancy like a fence? Yeah, actually, this fence is a really good idea because you can see through it, and so you can tell exactly when the thing is lit on fire, which is handy for being able to go right through into it. So I'm gonna break this down now. I'm gonna try and crouch through into the portal, and let's show you the issue with having the Y coordinate of -8. This means the nether is going to spawn you as close to the bottom as it humanly can, which means Y15, and that means spawning you in a nether cave. This is a mostly Bedrock concern because there aren't as many nether caves on Java, but it is something you should be very concerned about because it means you have to mine straight up. Mining straight up is the nether's version of digging straight down in the overworld because you know what's always going to be up there? Lava. And so you have to watch out if you're going to make a nether portal in here, and you also, if you're going to do it in an existing world, make sure you funnel through some of that lava if you're going to come here. So that is point number one. Make sure you know what you're getting into with the Stronghold portal. So the second thing to keep in mind is looking at my coordinates right now, you can see I'm very close to 1,000 blocks away from spawn. This means I'm in the first ring of strongholds, which is something a lot of people know about if you've been playing Minecraft for a while. It tries to generate these in rings around you, except nope, that is a Java exclusive. Java has specifically around 250 strongholds per world, whereas the Bedrock version does not follow this ring methodology except for the first 3. These first 3 are the one that can generate below villages if I were to dig up, and yes, there is in fact a village right here, but if we go much further out, this stops being true. However, there is never a point where the strongholds run out in their entirety. So if I type in some ridiculous set of coordinates right now, where you would have long since gone past the last stronghold on Java, we can still find some strongholds there on Bedrock. We've gone to a million now if I did the right number of zeros. As you can see, it's a bit of a it's a bit of a different terrain because we've gone a million blocks both directions, but we can still type /locate structure stronghold and it will still be able to find us one that, oh wait, no it won't. Is Minecraft broken? Let's try that one again actually. Nope, it thinks the nearest stronghold is 2.147 million blocks away. Okay, so obviously it's mistaken. And to prove that, we're gonna type this seed right here into chunk base, and we're gonna see exactly what that looks like. Okay, so Minecraft itself doesn't want to tell me where the nearest stronghold is, but chunk base insists that one can be found at 999,684, and then same coordinates, and then 994,244. Who do you think is right? Is Minecraft right about the nearest stronghold, or is chunk base? As you can see, the nearest stronghold to me right now is not exactly where I'm standing, but instead is found a million blocks away. It just feels a little hard to believe, but at the same time, I don't see a stronghold here, so maybe Minecraft is right. Yeah, no stronghold at all, right? Oh, yeah, look at that. There is, indeed, no stronghold. The second nearest stronghold is found at 993,892,994,068. And we'll see if they're all like this, or if it's a bit of a fluke. Indeed, looking down, I see a lush cave. Looking up, I see no sign of a stronghold. Chunk base, and indeed, the Minecraft wiki saying that they generate infinitely out, might both be mistaken here. Coming in a little bit closer, we'll try 497,428, and then 516, 515, 500. If there's not one here, then I think this is the real nail in the coffin for the idea of finding strongholds anywhere that isn't near spawn. Oh, no, okay, so for some reason, strongholds stop generating somewhere between 500,000 blocks and 1,000,000 blocks. I genuinely cannot tell you why that is, but as you can see, I'm standing in a stronghold right now. I tell it to locate a stronghold and it finally does do one, which is interesting, but otherwise it doesn't know where the strongholds are, somewhere after 500,000 blocks. Okay, you know what, sorry, this is meant to be a fun little lighthearted what's going on with the structure point, but I want to go ahead and find this out for myself. Let's know for sure right now what can be found. Also, look, this is a fun thing that happens with strongholds. Sometimes they generate with multiple rooms leading you to the end portal. Sometimes they generate exposed to caves. Multiple times they seem to generate with mob spawners found inside of them. It's so common for strongholds to collide with other structures. Sometimes you find hallways attached to nothing because you have to dig through a wall. Sometimes you find no end portal at all. And sometimes you find no stronghold at all. Or if you do find a stronghold, it's just a few nubs of a blocks. This is so strange. There is meant to be a stronghold here. But yeah, it thinks the nearest one is at spawn. A lot of Minecraft strongholds stop generating as you get further out. A bug I found out while trying to talk about another one in this video. What a weird little quirk, huh? So yeah, don't look for a stronghold when you get to 500,000 blocks by 500,000 blocks, but hopefully I didn't need to tell you that. While we're out here looking at weird structures, I'd be remiss not to mention the fake end portal room that you can find in Woodland Mansions. This is a very rare secret room type that you are unlikely to find all the time, but it is the second place in the game you can find an end portal room, but I wouldn't fall for this one if I were you, because maybe a bad thing happens. Anyway, back to the stronghold. The next weird thing about strongholds is to do with parity. So on the Bedrock edition, when you play a super flat world, you get no structures, no villages, and crucially, no strongholds. Strongholds still generate when you play super flat on Java, and because they generate at the same Y layer they would anyway, this means you get some which are very high up despite being effectively very low down compared to the rest of the overworld, and you just get some very silly looking high up strongholds. Even more interesting is the fact that on these super flat worlds, because they generate with blocks around them, those blocks are air but technically they generate blocks. They don't replace any of those blocks with stone bricks like they're meant to, meaning you just end up with a bunch of floating doors, which makes no sense. And also, if you press any of the buttons, the doors just immediately start to fall apart. Actually, not in that case, weirdly enough. If we break that, nope, the iron door is just happy to float in midair, apparently. So yeah, this is a very interesting thing that kind of gives you an insight as to how the game generates the strongholds themselves, and you can also use this same information to look on a seed and see what the stronghold would be like if there was no stone. And indeed, you can see just how separated the stronghold room is from the rest, and also how much more common these storerooms are on Java. There's one here, there's a second over here, there's a third over here, despite the, there's a fourth over here, despite the fact that I had to go so much further on Bedrock. Just weird differences between the two versions. By the way, the same thing applies on Console Edition, where Superflat also works, and so if you wanted to have, say, an entire world covered in TNT and some strongholds, that would be the explanation. Glad to finally answer your questions. Next up is Minecraft has 3 types of mob spawner that are very common. Everyone knows the skeleton, the zombie, and the spider, but finding a magma cube spawner is found in just one structure, and the same is true for the silverfish one. Unlike the magma cubes though, there is no known reason that you'd want to farm silverfish, but if you ever come up with one, I'd love to hear about it. But as best I can tell right now, it's bad for experience, it's bad for your life well-being, and honestly, it's bad for everyone around you, because who wants silverfish? By the way, also fun fact, silverfish might seem like they're a Minecraft fantasy mob on the level of the creeper, but they do exist in real life, and I learned that because I bought a house with a silverfish infestation a couple of years ago, and it's terrible. They're just everywhere, they're gross. I found one in my bed, and now I don't feel comfortable sleeping, and so if that's not enough for reason to destroy the spawner, I don't know what is. Finally, for some more parity, I need to mention that the exact same eye armor trims can be found on both Bedrock and Java, but enchanted books are both less common and less enchanted on Java, and also, this is the weirdest one. Ever since strongholds were added to Bedrock, they've had wooden doors exclusively, but usually no doors whatsoever. On Java, it's got iron doors, so if you wanted to farm iron doors, this might be one of the best places to do so if you play the Java edition, and yeah, to me, it feels so odd to see these. Like, what is the point of having to push buttons? It kind of helps you out because it means mobs can't come and get you, whereas on the Bedrock edition, no such thing exists. Which way round do you think feels better? Because to me, the iron doors just feel like an abomination. They feel like they shouldn't be there, but that's because I play the version without them. What do you think about that? Also, finally, I just think our Superflat should have strongholds. I want to have slimes bouncing around on top of my structures, damn it. And so, yeah, that's all I have to say for now. This is the internals of a stronghold. This is the weird quirks and features about them, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video. For all the twists and turns, I like to teach people about Minecraft things, and if you want to learn about more of the fundamentals of the game from a weird perspective like this, consider subscribing to the channel for more of the ultimate guide. And yeah, there'll be a playlist link down below. It's been a lot of fun so far, and I look forward to what I'm going to be doing next after this, which is looking into more of the weird secret rooms, because while looking around for some today, I found some very interesting things. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.